Hello, it's Blake Williams with Battle Tested, and it's story time. Growing up in high school, one of my favorite jobs ever had was in my last 3 years of high school. I worked at a great place called Camp Mac in the Cheaha Mountains in Munford, Alabama. And I was just on their maintenance crew, worked there on the weekends and then in the summers, and I had a tremendous amount of fun, a lot of memories. One of the guys that co-owned the place was John McBride. And John was a herpetologist by training. That's someone who studies reptiles. And we would always catch snakes with John. John had tons of snakes in his house and aquariums. And if we found snakes, John was involved and we'd take them to him. And usually he would be the one to catch them, or sometimes we would catch snakes and take them to him so he can do research and whatever. And there was one time I was with John, and he sees a snake running through the grass. And I know snakes don't have feet and run, but this snake was going fast. Turned out to be a black racer, one of the fastest snakes there is. And this particular snake was about 6 feet long, big snake. And John runs this snake down and catches it with his bare hands. Fun to watch. And then we were going to go transport the snake to what they call Nature Lore, which is just a place where the kids who are at camp there can go and see wildlife. So when we caught wildlife and the snakes and whatever, we would put it in that particular facility. So we're taking it to Nature Lore, and John says to me, "Blake, have you ever been bit by a snake?" I said, "Well, no, John, I have never been bit by a snake." And he said, "Would you like to be?" And I thought for a second, and I replied, "Well, does it hurt?" He said, "Well, if you don't pull away and it's a non-venomous snake, it won't hurt." So I said, "All right, John, let's get this done." And I hold my arm out, and he takes this snake and he's got it by the head. And again, this is a 6 foot long snake, so it's got a big head. And he taps it on my arm a couple times, and when he does that, this snake obviously gets a little riled up. And he opens his mouth and he clamps down on my forearm. And it took everything that I had not to pull away from this snake. Just kind of reaction, right? The snake bites you, you pull away. But I just stood there and I held that arm there, and this snake just begins to gnaw on my arm, realizing finally that it's not getting anywhere, and it lets go. And it actually did not hurt. It kind of felt like someone was massaging my arm in that particular area. Now, it did leave a few little drops of blood that rose to the surface, but it really didn't hurt. Some of you hear this story like, "You're absolutely crazy. You let a snake bite you on purpose." And yes, I did. But that just shows what I want to talk about today is trust. I had complete and utter trust in John. John and I had spent a lot of time together throughout my time working there. We worked closely together, and he was a lot like a big brother to me. And I had trust in John. I knew that he knew what he was talking about because he studied snakes. He was an expert in reptiles. So who else would I trust in that area than a herpetologist? I knew that John would take care of me. I knew he wouldn't steer me down the wrong path. I knew that he would make this a good experience for me, if you can have that. So I trusted John implicitly, and it turned out just as John said it would. It wouldn't hurt if I did not pull away from the snake. A silly story, perhaps, but just really to point out again this character trait of trust. Do you have people around you that you trust implicitly, like I trusted John? Are you someone that others are able to trust implicitly? You know, trust takes two people. It takes a relationship of two people. One person has to be trust willing. I'm willing to put my trust in you. Some of us have gone through things in life, like myself, that over time in the past have found it hard to put my trust in other people. People have let me down, so therefore I have a hard time perhaps putting my trust in certain people or in people in general. But someone has to be trust willing in order for a trusting relationship to develop. Then it takes the other side of the coin, that person who is proven to be trustworthy. So you have to have someone who's trust willing, putting their trust into someone who is trustworthy. Are you someone who can be trust willing? Are you someone who can be trustworthy? If you're a member of a team like so many of those that I work with, trust is such a valuable asset to any team, and to any team like a family, a workplace, any relationship. Trust needs to be there in order to have an effective relationship. Can you be that type of person that displays that type of trust? Have a great day.